Welcome to Energy Espresso, the podcast that's brewing bold conversations and powerful insights. Dave Bosco is your guide to energizing ideas and electrifying discussions on all things energy and power. Each episode will perk up your perspective as we sit down with industry leaders and experts who are shaping the future over a great cup of coffee. So grab your favorite blend, settle in, and get ready to stay fully charged. This is Energy Espresso. Let's get brewing.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for joining today's episode of the Energy Espresso. My name is Dave Bosco, and we're joining you remotely today as my guest is actually based in, he's located in Argentina right now, so had the pleasure with it being summer here in the Northern Hemisphere and winter in the Southern Hemisphere. Denis is joining us, and Denis, thank you so much for joining the Energy Espresso.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. It's a really great pleasure.
Absolutely. You got a cup of coffee with you this morning, my friend?
Definitely, of course. No way without coffee. Cheers.
I like it. What did you choose for your cup of coffee this morning?
You know, I'm just Americano follow. So I just all the time buying Americanos. I like it. It's just good for me. Yeah,
that's good. Usually 1 or 2 shots in your Americano?
2 shots, always 2 shots, because that's enough to energize for the whole rest of the day,
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I'm drinking Americano myself. We actually just got a new, and I'm going to pull up my phone so I can kind of explain this to you. We just got a new coffee machine called the Terra Cafe at our office. And if you're familiar with a Jura coffee machine.
Yeah, I love it. I like it. Yeah.
This is the Jura, but it's a little bit more affordable. They're direct to consumer. And it's pretty cool because you've got an app that you can actually like have a coffee cup set up on the machine, press it in the morning when you wake up, and it'll go ahead and have a nice Americano, cappuccino, whatever you prefer. It's pretty slick, but I'm a 2 to 4 shot type of guy myself, depending on the morning, and always enjoy an Americano. So that's great.
Yeah, sounds really interesting. Should try. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, Denis, I always like to ask my guests, I guess, before we get into your morning routine, because I always like to understand, what gets you energized. Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of, frame up who you are, what's your company name, and that way we can kind of make sure everybody knows who you are.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. My name is Denis Krysanov. I am the CEO and founder of Heologic Group, and we are known in the world as the sole company to run helium surveys for oil and gas, for other industries. So yeah, I'm originally coming from Finland. So I had a long story with the coffee because, Finland is one of the leading countries, like eaters, I would say, not drinkers, eaters of coffee, because of the dark nights. So that's my story. Start from Finland, where I was head of many different interesting projects in automation, in software development, and so on. So coming from that side, brought a lot to me, like Finnish attitude to the business and, straightforward, into details. So that's about me shortly.
I love it. We're going to get more into, learn about you, kind of, your story personally and your journey to your company today, and then more about your business. But with this being the Energy Espresso, and, we're having a cup of coffee to get energized, what's your morning routine? You wake up, what do you do to kind of get ready for the day? I imagine being the CEO, I think, with you being a multinational kind of customer base that you've got, probably an early riser, right?
Right. I wake up like 5 o'clock, sometimes 5:30 when I want to be lazy a bit, And first thing what I do, I exercise. And that's a part of, everyday life. And then I go to gym. And after that, I have some still time for myself. And already when I'm in gym, I'm already calling to my customers or to my partners. So it's already starting their working day. But that's the daily routine. And, I enjoy it. I enjoy it because that makes me really energized and ready for ready for a fight, every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, when you have a choice to drink a cup of coffee, is that typically an Americano is what you like?
Yeah, Americano. Yeah, again, it's coming back from Finland. I just got used to Finnish coffee, and it's quite tasty and strong. So I'm trying to always have it without any milk. I mean, just pure
Yep.
coffee, and that's the good taste. And
I like it.
luckily here in Argentina, like when I'm in Buenos Aires, so we have a couple of good choices, like nearby where I live. So that's always come and pick up my early morning coffee.
That's fantastic. I've never been to Argentina myself. It's always been on my bucket list. But how is the local coffee there? And is it because Argentina feels like it's got a lot of European influence, even though it's a South American country, right? So I always envision they got espresso machines. It's got kind of a Milan feel in Buenos Aires, is what I've always heard.
Yes, yes. No, they like coffee here. It's not as, of course, as in Finland, but they have a good coffee here. Some locations you can really enjoy coffee, and it's a part of culture. They like cafeterias, all these cafe shops, and all of this. So it's part of good culture. Argentinians, they love to go for out, just for food, for coffee. Yeah, it's good coffee. I can recommend. If you come someday to Buenos Aires, definitely can enjoy coffee drinking here. So
I love it. I love it. Well, let's get into learning about Denis and kind of what your journey is. You shared that, you started your career out in Finland, doing engineering. What kind of projects and part of the industry were you working in, and did you start out in? Did that originate in oil and gas, or was that a different industry?
no, yeah, I started with oil and gas. So it was my actually first industry where I entered to. And in Finland, we were part of a big group which was supplying different technologies to the eastern countries. And I was handling logistics. Then I went deeper into technological side to see the integrations of heavy load equipment, drilling equipment, and so on. So that's how I came to this technological part and to oil and gas. I really moved forward very fast. So we established with other managers a company which were servicing with the innovative technologies Eastern customers from Asia and so on. And yeah, that's how I moved on. And I really, since that time, I really enjoyed to work with innovations, with technologies, and that was part of my life, all the time.
That's fantastic. How did you know? Because at a certain point, I think in all of our journeys, as humans, as business people, right? There's that spark that goes off where you're working for a company, kind of probably sounds like enjoyed yourself, was a good culture. What was that kind of inflection point that you decided, I want to start my own gig and control my own destiny, move into a different realm, right? Because, as a CEO, you're managing people, you're, at the helm of a business that has a responsibility for people and their, well-being and lives, and making sure that they obviously have a paycheck and jobs to do. What was that inflection point for you and gave you the drive to kind of start up a company?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that maybe I didn't like my boss so much. And I understood that, I don't want to work for anyone, and since that time, I never worked for anyone, only for myself. And I loved it, because the freedom of choice, of course, huge responsibility, through all these years, but, it's something that drives me every day. I enjoy to look at problems, solve the problems, see the opportunities. And when I was working for the company, I mean, you just part of the system, and it doesn't bring you so much of pleasure really, like when you're self-driven. So for me, it was a good choice, and I love it. I never regret.
That's awesome. What would you say your management style is? Inside of, culturally at Heologic, is that something where you guys are, kind of an agile company? What is, how do you manage your team and get folks excited about coming and working for you?
Yeah, Dave, when I started the business in Heologic, I understood that it's very difficult to get the best people to one location. So I understood that we have to join teams from all around the world. We have to find those experts, to be able to reach them, to manage them. It's quite complicated, especially nowadays. It's world is so open, and we were really lucky to identify experts in our field for our purpose. And my managing is based on digital. We communicate digitally, remotely. We have all the systems, on the web. So we kind of got to use from the very beginning to work with teams that we never seen personally, physically. So we have such team members for years already that we never seen each other. But they're a good part of our business. So managing these people, of course, you give them a lot of opportunities within the company. And since we're in innovation, we have to be, to be very welcoming this type of experts. So we give them a lot of opportunities. We give them free time, of course. So we kind of managed them for really so many years, and they're happy. I can tell you that people who are working for our company, they really enjoy. They see this as a very hard job, of course, but something that we built is amazing, and everyone is excited about partially changing the world.
I love it. Well, let's talk about how Heliologic is helping change the world. Why don't you frame up for the audience, what you guys do, what the business model is, differentiation, and we got a wide variety of business folks and people that are geeks for technology. Dive into the weeds as much as you want to so that we can understand what it is you guys do and the value it brings to a customer.
Yeah. I started the business with Helium surveys like already 9 years ago, a bit more even, when I went really deeper into this business and decided to invest my money, my time, my life. And I have acquired technology, which was like really something advanced that time, but it was already promising. So I decided that, okay, the technology has limits, certain limits in advancement. And I decided, like, okay, I can do it. I knew that it's going to be hard, but I said I can do it. And having said that, I started investing, innovating, and getting to the fields. So from the very beginning, I visited all the fields that we had, onshore, offshore, participating everywhere, deserts, jungles, just ask me where. I've seen it all. And I understood that, we have certain challenges in technology, and we have to overcome those. And again, innovation. Innovation is something that you put together with the digital, with, of course, automation, with the science. So you always work between all of this, and of course, a lot of field testing. So we were really lucky to get customers because of our history. It was quite good experience proposing to customers something new based on old techniques, something new, something which we started to call digital geochemistry. And that's maybe the basic of our business right now, that we have changed how the geochemistry works in oil and gas business. If you go to any customer, like any client, anywhere in oil and gas business and say, okay, we do a geochemistry study, they will laugh and say, okay, come on, guys, we don't trust your signals. I mean, what could it be? I faced it all. And we said, okay, look, we have invented a new way how to collect data. Put it digital. So what we did, we innovated, we built a system which can measure helium gas, subsoil helium gas, which is coming to the surface, and we could identify true helium anomalies. And again, because of the properties of this unique gas, we could correlate these anomalies to the oil and gas reservoirs beneath. And that started this big life of Heologic, where we come to the customer, we show our already results, we show what we have achieved with our digital geochemistry, and that's how we grow now. We are recognized. We are the only team in the world who can do this, and we're very proud of this, and again, a lot of experience in the fields. Managing teams in the fields, it's another question, how you manage, because we face sometimes very difficult terrains, difficult conditions. For instance, at this moment we work in jungles, we work in very extreme weather conditions as well, and it's tough. It's a tough way of collecting data. But what I'm happy for is that all the data, wherever we go, it's so reliable. Helium signal that we receive from the ground, it guides us so much. We can identify oil and gas. We can identify now lithium in brines, what we do here in Argentina. We can identify geothermal reservoirs. Of course, helium, high helium content reservoirs, gas reservoirs. And definitely what is next step is natural hydrogen reservoirs. So we're expanding our oil and gas, initial industry application to other applications, and we see a great potential for this technique.
Denis, that's fascinating. I love it. To unpack it a little bit. So oil and gas is kind of the base load as to what you developed your technology on. But through this process, just Dave's words here, you've been able to go, hey, there's many other things subsurface that we can quantify and reduce, and correct me if I'm wrong here, reduce the normal exploration kind of process that, would rely on seismic buggies, seismic data that maps images down below the surface, being able to use geological kind of like, I don't want to call it witchcraft by any means, but, you look at like the way the actual geology forms above the surface can dictate sometimes what is maybe below, right? So you're providing a solution, and this is my words, you let me know if I'm wrong, that enables a customer to have very high confidence before they go and make that initial investment that could, yield a dry hole or something that doesn't have the production yield that might make their project make sense. You give them a pretty nice baseline to qualify. There's something there. The helium coming up to surface provides that thoroughfare of the chemistry and componentry as to what is down below subsurface so that they can make a good business decision without the investment of a drilling and exploration kind of project. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you're quite accurate. Quite accurate, Dave. Look, we provide additional signal, valuable geological signal, which is coming from the helium properties. Helium is a product of alpha decay of uranium and thorium, and it would be also partially, migrating from the mantle side. So when it migrates through sedimentary cover, it will be accumulated in certain types of reservoirs, like I mentioned, oil and gas, and so on. Would be much more helium accumulated in the gas reservoirs, less in oil, and heavy oil would be much less helium, of course. But independently on the cap rock, helium will still be able, because of one of the smallest molecular size in the universe, would be still penetrating through the seal and migrating mostly vertically to the surface. So what we see that, we can have a geophysical information, seismic data, which is important, of course, to identify the depth, to identify the structure, to be able to model the geology. But again, it's this type of signals which being classic way provided to the industry. Mm-hmm. They are just giving you static knowledge. It's just okay. It's there. There's nothing dynamic, and this is where helium comes. We can provide additional dynamic signal, which shows you the saturation of certain like oil and gas. We can differentiate between oil and gas again because of the properties of the helium, more helium in the gas, less in oil, or we can even see lithium in brines. So actually, what we are doing right now, we have prospecting services. So it means that we go for the field, we prospect big territories, big blocks, and identifying the potential of that block. Just quickly, easy, very fast. And then we can already plan your investments. You can plan your seismic 2D, for instance, or even 3D if you have budgets for those. And then based on this, you already can run how we call it like helium exploration 3D surveys, which means that we do it by the grid, and we already confirm that here's a helium anomaly. Here's really something. Now, for geologists, it's very already easy to interpret their seismic data, geophysical data, because they can see it's a helium anomaly. It cannot come just from nothing. It comes from a certain reservoir. So let's identify what is the depth of reservoir, where it's located, and what would be the result of your drilling. And the third type of service what we provide is drilling de-risking. So it means that when you already have your prospect matured, you already prepare for the drill, now we come again and we do again a very quick, very fast job just to tell you, okay, shift this well, let's say maybe 500 meters, maybe 1 kilometer, maybe more or less. It all depends what we see, but then you drill. And that comes when you drill the well, we will be, like I say, 100% correct, because we have helium signal, we have geophysical signal, and now you can build helium image. And helium image, that's what we are aiming always for, because with the helium image, you already understand your helium anomaly, you understand your geology, you understand your seismic results, and your drilling results. So by understanding your well test, you can already scale up through the whole entire geology. That's what we do. So understanding the helium signal, having helium image, which is in oil and gas, it's a direct hydrocarbon indicator in our case. Mm-hmm. You can scale it up. And that's what we do. We, through entire geological province, we can just like this go and tell, okay, drill here, drill there. Just now, it's something which is very incredible that we can pinpoint those even small reservoirs, which would be, highly not recommended by the conventional way of exploration. Certainly. This is the way how we operate now. We support operators, exploration is, with the additional signal, which is super relevant.
That's really cool, man. I want to go back to the smaller reservoirs, because I've got some thoughts on that. But for people to understand kind of what you're doing process-wise, you go out, you drill a hole. Is that accurate, Denis? And you put sensors in the ground. Like, how does that look process-wise for folks to maybe just like visualize, how this is achieved?
Yeah, Dave, look, we again turn the signal, helium signal, which comes, helium gas flux that comes from the subsoil, we turn into digital. So it means that we are making a hole of 1 meter. We bring our automated system to the spot, and we stay for 10-15 minutes at the spot, measuring with a special way how helium, coming to the system.
And so you've got sensors that are picking that up. Okay.
So our crew usually like 3-4 people, depends on terrain, depends on, sometimes we have a separate crew to cut the trees, because, just, like usually in the jungles, because we cannot otherwise move, But otherwise, we just don't leave anything behind us. We just come, we measure this, 10-15 minutes, and we move on. We have collected the data. It's around 2,500 rows of data from one spot. And that amount is a huge amount of data. We see so much about that, And why we do this, Dave, because we may be never coming back to the same spot, and, if we make any mistake, it would mean that maybe we would recommend wrongly that the drilling rig should be there.
Yep.
And we
so you're pulling
to be exact. Yeah.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, Denis. I was doing some math on my calculator. So 15 minutes, it's about 900 seconds, 2,500 data samples,
Correct.
is that at like a half a second or kind of like a couple of milliseconds for data rate?
Internationally. Yeah, approximate. So that's another. That's enough. But of course, our system is automated, so it will be guided by the actual conditions. So it will be selecting what will be the signal and the type of the signal we are measuring. So it's kind of sophisticated system. But yes, correct. We have to collect plenty of data.
That's really cool. So after the data is collected, this isn't like a guy looking at a spreadsheet and you've got conditional formatting. I know I'm slightly kidding.
No.
You probably have some type of, proprietary solution that you've developed that can analyze and look at that data and provide some quantitative quantitative results. Is that accurate?
Yeah, one of the reasons why Science Academy wouldn't go for measuring helium is because helium concentrations are very unstable. So measuring today in the morning and the same spot in the evening would be different helium measurement. And helium fluctuations, temporal fluctuations are really quite visible, And it's difficult to say where's the true anomaly. And that's what we have developed. We developed a system to be able to realize. It's a very sophisticated system of algorithms that allows us to realize what is a true helium measurement at this spot. And that allows us to be very, very exact to say, okay, here is the anomaly. And it doesn't, we run plenty of different, quality checks and so on. Anomaly is there, it stays. With all different crash test parameters, anomaly is there. So that's what we do. We identify with the deep learning systems, we have machine learning implemented, to analyze, to compare, to, correlate. I mean, plenty of things. Yeah, we built a very strong software for that. And another thing that what I'm proud of course, that we own the largest helium subsoil helium signal database in the world because of all these years being in the field, and constructing, this, building the little by little, all this, we came up to an amazing database that we own. And we went to the sea to offshore, and we see that many scientific papers which are published, they give a bit different results of what we see in the real field conditions. So collecting helium, brought us to the next level. We believe so much in this gas. It opens for us, of course, when it's data properly managed, opens for us so much insights. So much insight.
It's really cool.
I really a strong believer of this gas since I see something that we sometimes all on my team was shocked, like, wow, that's really incredible.
Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating, Denis, because I mean, to the layman out there that thinks, okay, helium, I fill up party balloons, right? And can maybe breathe it in and make my voice sound funny. I mean, that's what me and my kids do after a party, right? To medical device technology that uses that gas, right? This is something, when you and I started chatting and, you had reached out, this just like fascinated me because I never thought before that something like this was even possible. It's a very, very novel approach that, kind of circling back to the smaller reservoirs, right? Because if you're a big, large E&P or, multinational oil and gas operator, right? They're looking for production yield in very, very large volumes. My brain almost goes like, what are some of the applications that, because, you can provide a solution that somebody could very easily understand, is there something subsurface that could, be used for energy production, period? Because natural gas, hydrogen, lithium, geothermal, like, there's a form of energy and obviously energy storage out of one of them. What are some of the use cases that you have kind of considered for, being able to go on the more micro scale?
Yeah. Dave, I'm a strong believer that with the current global trend of our AI, of the data, of all this happening in the digital world, We need energy everywhere, you know. And this is something that we have never thought, actually. It's we just now start to realize that, okay, we are in certain location, where to get the energy from. And that's the big problem that the world is going to face. Currently, I believe 1, 2, 3% of natural resources are discovered. The rest, resources are still there. It's a huge, huge opportunity that we have in front of us, and it's not in the large scale reservoirs. They are exactly small reservoirs which we see through our projects that you can just easily drill, get your well, like de-risked, successful drilling, and then let it produce. It actually is going to change. The future is going to change. I see it's really rapidly changing because of the needs, but I see that we need to find the way how we can set power plants, how we can provide energy to different locations we have never thought before. And that's the where helium as a signal, reliable signal of this type of resources would be so important.
Yeah. No, it's super cool, Dennis, because if we have been focused on the big volumes, right? And to your point, 2 to 3% of natural resources to generate energy is all we're tapping today. The lower hanging fruit, it sounds like, is on a micro level. And one of the things when you're building out, a power plant at a large scale, you're looking for access to pipelines, access to, distribution and transmission lines, right? My brain almost goes like, hey, anything from a small community, could be in a very rural area that doesn't have reliable electricity. There, you think of Africa, some of the, countries that are still developing, they could tap their own well, be able to provide their own generation on site, and control their destiny without having to rely on, maybe a larger company or somebody to come in and build out something that might not generate the, the needs for those folks. And there's a lot of, construction that usually is focused on more densely populated areas. I almost think of this as like you're enabling democratizing energy to the masses, right?
Right, you're right. If you're so right, we can, with the current approach, what we are proposing to the world, we can export small reservoirs, which are within the village, just next by the village or next to some factory, some plant production. Doesn't matter, it's all possible to find. It's a good example, in Mali, they have discovered that well with the natural hydrogen, which was just drill, they had a well for the water, but they saw plenty of hydrogen. Now they put generators already for so many years. They're working fine. It's a good example, but it was an accident, right? So what we propose, like what we actually do already in certain parts of the world, is actually to bring small reservoirs into life. And how you do this? It's just de-risking the well, drill the well, and then establish whether you want to use turbines. Of course, gas turbines, it's best, one of the best possibilities, or you can just generate electricity, in other way. Depends again.
Yep. Recip engine or
Right.
something.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's changing the whole approach. We are still far from like global exploration program like this, because we have to change the mindset of geologists. It's tough. I can tell you it's tough because they are all trained for big things, because of the big budgets. Yeah. Now here comes the small budget project, which you can just drill, baby drill. That's another type of resource, a reservoir, and another type of the exploration program, which doesn't require so much of investments. It will be in future. I see that it's going to be affordable for so many, even small villages. You can do it. I'm sure that you can do it.
No, it's pretty fascinating to think about what that does to enable, because you look at, the delivery challenges with data centers being built out, Airline industries are building like crazy right now. LNG is building like crazy. Big, traditional power plants, you're way far out from when they can actually be constructed. And a lot of those are happening in the developed countries where it puts more undeveloped countries at risk, where people want to have that upward mobility and the creature comforts that we all take for granted, right? This is super, super cool because I think, again, to that like micro scale, it allows in these risky kind of situations where technology is proliferating very quickly, industries are building up, and the power of dollars that can be spent is dictating where those resources or assets goes. This is something that I look forward to seeing how this unfolds for your business in enabling some of those other potentials to help folks out that want to still, that are in developing countries get up to developed world standards. It's a pretty cool deal when you can have a business that obviously, provides a great return, but does something that actually helps humanity as well.
Yeah, you're right. Right. It's a new world that we can build, and it's a more flexible world. And I think that flexibility is coming to the main point of the future. Because look at AI data centers. We need them so much. How
Yes.
to place. What will be the cost? Okay, it's huge competition is coming, and you also
Yeah.
wouldn't risk place your AI database, your softwares somewhere in far countries. You prefer to have it locally somewhere. So now those African countries, Asian countries, South American countries have a
Yep.
great possibility to place data centers in their own countries, and have a still very, very competitive price for running those. So
Yep.
we are opening next page, I think, for the future of energy. And my thought is that we have to build system where at any square mile in the world you can reach a power supply. Okay,
Yep.
it's not just building the pipeline. No, no, no. It's again identifying small spot. It's all possible. I can see from our work, it's all possible. And again with the helium, because if you want to have a gas for your gas generation, for power generation, your gas turbines, we will
Yep.
hit helium. Here's the gas. So it makes all these things much easier and cheaper.
Definitely. Circling back to the hydrogen, Dennis, there was obviously a big push with ESG. It's kind of lost a lot of the luster because of the, investment and political climate that exists globally right now. I've always been a big fan of hydrogen, but there's been a critical path to hydrogen where we had to use energy and precious resource of water to be able to, created through electrolysis, right? You're splitting hydrogen and oxygen molecules to get that gas. The prospect of white or gold hydrogen, which is naturally occurring, and there's, we could geek out on kind of how that happens based upon the heat interacting with rocks down inside the crust of the earth, which is just absolutely fascinating to me. We've been hearing in the news that there was recent discoveries of like 1,000 years worth of hydrogen that is tappable, that could be able to power the world, right? And I'm personally a fan of an all the above energy policy, as long as it obviously makes dollars and cents. What are you seeing is the opportunity in some of the studies and projects that you guys have done some exploration on, as it applies to naturally occurring hydrogen? How prevalent is that inside of the world right now? Or did somebody just get lucky and find one pocket and it's not existing in other places?
Dave, I'm a strong believer that we can find natural hydrogen nearly everywhere. And again, one of the first person in the world who was talking about this, it was Mr. Vladimir Larin from Russia, from Soviet Union that time. And he was the first man who really went deep into studies in the fields and measuring, hydrogen, finding the geological opportunities. And he said that, Earth is full of hydrogen. and we can identify those hydrogen streams, channels, like chimneys,
Sure.
Of course, we can look for synchronization, all this other ways of obtaining properly, like commercially viable resource. Yeah, but still, from my work, what we see that natural hydrogen can be found by streams. And it's funny, in Soviet Union, for instance, they've been drilling so much, and they could afford this. Like in Kazakhstan, they have wells, which we are now looking at, for instance, where they had even 100% of hydrogen, but it was in Soviet Union drilled, and they said unsuccessful well, just forget about it.
Yeah.
It's all there. Of course, 30%, 20% of hydrogen. We just need to build the economy on that, to see whether that would be viable. Again, if you go and approach with the conventional way, large projects, like all these things, big investments. Again, it's going to be that such way that anything below 50% of hydrogen in your well is going to be too expensive, to run. So that's why I'm thinking that with our technology, currently what we have, digital geochemistry, we can identify those streams, those spots. And I see already from our work that hydrogen and helium anomalies are like very well correlated to each other. Why it happens? It's just because of nature of two gases. So when we talk about deep-seated or deep migration of hydrogen and helium together, it's very common. And that already now we can see works in US, in Australia, in Russia, in other countries, that they see both helium and hydrogen together. Or they go for natural hydrogen and they see great quantities of helium in the well, not hydrogen, but helium, So that makes sense, But you know what, Dave? I'm thinking that world has to look at helium more because helium has more energy inside than hydrogen. But we don't know. Yeah, we don't know how to take it out, and that's another maybe challenge for the global society is to develop techniques to be able to extract that superpower from helium molecule. How to do that? That's not to me. I'm not ready for this answer, but I can assure you that if we are capable of extracting power from the helium, we can generate so much of data centers, of electricity for data centers for the whole humanity. Because we see helium anomalies, they are everywhere, really. So good ones. I mean, they're really easy to find for us. And I'm strong believer that the next journey in exploration would be also for helium accumulations, understanding how to extract that power of the helium.
Which, to me, Dennis, I've never thought about that, but you think of, our what we have found data-wise, the sun, right? What we get our light and our heat from today that, makes our world the beautiful world that it is. Helium, I think, and hydrogen are the biggest components that actually fuel the sun, correct? So, no brainer. If we can tap into helium, I've never thought about that. That's absolutely brilliant.
It is, but it's known fact in science. We just cannot do this right now. We are hunting for hydrogen, which would be in a certain chimneys in certain locations, but we have never thought about the helium itself because we just don't have technique at this moment. Maybe there's someone already working on that, but it would be really great if we can cooperate with such people because I believe the future will be again in energy which is available at every spot on the earth. And that's possible. That's possible.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing that I've been kind of, opining about, and it's been a thesis of mine for a while, oil and gas, as a business, we have traditionally focused on oil and natural gas, right? I've been a firm believer that even in all the above energy policy, you want to call it energy transition, there's no reason that oil and gas focused companies today should not be driving the adoption and participating in this all the above energy alternative fuels, especially if they're naturally occurring. Because you think about it, it's a gas, right? It's a formation that we create a thoroughfare. Maybe there's different stimulation techniques to go ahead and unlock that reservoir, bring it to surface outside of the core component being oil or natural gas, which natural gas does have helium, hydrogen, other properties as part of it. Outside of us not having the infrastructure, because if I'm not mistaken, the actual pipelines and some of the thoroughfares to get the gas to the midstream side of it may look different. I've been a firm believer of we should be owning that entire process because we know how to unlock those resources that are subsurface better than anybody else. What are your thoughts on that, Denis?
Yeah, I see what is happening right now in the industry. Oil and gas business already kind of leaving those assets away from their site. It's time to understand that you cannot mix together this type of industries. Different math, different economics, and big global companies, they need something large and big. And how you can manage a company when you have your investments in something that will be paying back to you in 7 years, and still bringing you a bit of profit. So I believe that we are now facing this very, very normal, natural way of development, global development. We are going to see many small companies, like middle-sized companies, go into this business, keeping some good business within their competence, of course, and running it. So without large corporations, because we see that large corporations have overheads, all of this, it makes these projects not so viable economically for them. So we have a new way of doing things. Again, oil and gas, I don't think that should be mixed so clearly. I see another thing. I see a new generation of companies that are going to be more and more present in the world. The companies that are looking for everything. It means that it doesn't matter. I mean, if you have your square mile and it has different potential, why you wouldn't just go and explore that certain part and just get maximum out of this? You wouldn't forget about that. There's I have 100% of hydrogen in my well. You will use it.
Yeah.
So my message actually it's that look at what we have and look broadly to all possible resources that you can extract from there. And that's actually, we see already such companies, and we are preparing to, let's say, to cooperate with such companies, because we see that they, with our technique, with our signal, they can benefit so much from just exploring few, 100 square miles, for instance. It's all possible. And that's what I see. We have to see that the future in the natural resources will be after smaller companies.
I like it, man. And that holistic view, I think that you're describing, where we normally, in a bigger company, exploration production has the proverbial blinders on, right? It really is more sustainable if you're going to go ahead and develop that acreage, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what they're doing, is developing the acreage. The energy that went into producing oil and gas can now produce these other types of resources. Energy in versus energy out. That's the way I look at it. That's efficiency, right? And not everybody manages and measures efficiency the same, but I think that is the most efficient and sustainable way that you could actually develop this acreage. I love where your brain's going.
Thank you.
It's a very different way and disruptive way of thinking, and the way that you're approaching, this area is very, very cool. On the last thing I wanted to touch on was the geothermal side, because we're talking about, energy in general, right? Actually geothermal and lithium. Really quickly on the geothermal side, are there any projects that you're working on right now that are in the geothermal space, and kind of where do you see that going?
Yeah, we are working more and more now in geothermal side as well. I mean, we are developing partnerships with our let's say customers, and we see that yeah, with the helium surveys, we can you know be more precise with pointing locations for the drill. But you know, I can tell you that with lithium and brines, we have achieved amazing results because lithium and brines, it's not so deep. You know, it's like around maybe sometimes 400-meter, 300-meter reservoirs, and there's so much helium. You know, it's so much. You know, we can pinpoint those spots where just you place a well, you start extraction of lithium. At the same time, there's helium. You can, you know, like with geothermal, this with lithium and brines, you can also extract helium from there. Again, new approach, new way of doing things. But just imagine, big companies again, they look at the massive size of reservoir, and because of big investments, you have to be paid back for all your investments. Now, with the simple tools, easy tools, and for exploration and discovery, you can already start production of helium from the lithium in brines. You can produce helium from the geothermal. Why not? It's just a matter of your investments, which be much less than the conventional way of exploring resources.
Absolutely. And less energy intensive too. That's, I think, one of the farces with battery energy storage. And look, I've been in the battery energy storage space in my career as well, and think that there are some very, very kind of like no nonsense approaches to where batteries make sense. The challenge has always been the amount of energy or the carbon, right? And resources it takes to be able to mine actually mine the earth, extract the lithium, process that. It can be very, very harmful. It's usually in countries where they don't necessarily have, the best human rights policies and things like that.
Yeah.
I think that the energy intensity, if we consider it that way, that goes into extracting lithium out of the, produced water or brine is actually a really, really cool enabler where the balance sheet, if we almost look at it, if you're trying to say, hey, what's, where do you end up being carbon neutral or have, less energy that went into producing this material versus what it yields in storage? I think the lithium out of brine has a lot more weight behind it and could actually, again, for the smaller mid-sized businesses that you're talking about that want to kind of have a holistic approach, makes a lot more sense than the traditional ways that we have gotten minerals out of the earth.
I agree. But for this, what you need to have a cooperation between different experts, different type of experts. So when we, for instance, work in such special projects, we see that there would be petroleum explorationists, there would be at the same team mineral explorationists, there would be the same team for technologists. You should, when you go for the project, to be less energy intensive, you have to put right experts together, and they look at the whole picture together, and that's would be the most of effort. That's so we are talking about a new generation of expertise in the world, and new type of new type of experts, which would be again based on digital, because our human brain is limited. So what we need to do is to have tools which would be stimulating our decisions, and that's what I believe. When you collect data and it's analyzed by different experts, you make much better decisions, and you reduce your impact to the nature and your energy in different level, okay? Because you will not use so much of energy to discover certain resources. It's a new way of doing things, and it's all possible. Look, it's so possible. It's just already funny that people are not using this,
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And, in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, I really look forward to seeing where your company continues to grow, how you guys are able to take, your technology enable people to be able to have more of a holistic approach to their energy production, and seeing how this develops for, us as a globe. I think it's really, really exciting. And, your company and you as a visionary in this space, we need more folks like you trying to help us figure out, how do we address the energy challenges that we have as a globe, and, be able to tap into resources that everybody else might have wrote off at one point because it didn't make sense for the way their business was structured.
Yes, yes. Thank you for good words. Yeah, it's true. We are building something new, something big, and I'm really happy to have such discussions with you and with the audience. And I believe that in 5 years we should live in other world already, in much better in energy side, of course.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. Well, Denis, before we end the podcast, want to make sure if folks want to get in touch with you, we're going to be posting on LinkedIn and social channels your contact info, Heliologic's website. But if folks want to get in touch with you, how could they get in touch with you and learn more about Heliologic?
I think LinkedIn, you can find me in there, and please message me, and I would be more than happy to describe more what we do. And I'm very open to show things that we are doing, and I think that now the main task is to spread the world, to show what we are capable of and what the world is going to be.
That's awesome. Well, Denis, thank you so much for coming on the Energy Espresso and taking the time today. I love the conversation, man. Love what you're doing. Let's stay in touch, and maybe what we should do is here in about a year's time frame, circle back and check in, kind of see how things are going, and you can give us an update.
Agreed. I think it's an amazing opportunity to see us in 1 year again. I think it's great. Let's do it.
Wonderful. Well, you be safe and enjoy Argentina and keep up the good work.